Right, so there are loads of uses for custom calendars. So if you're building, for instance, a scheduling app for maybe something like social media, or in this instance, YouTube, what I'm going to demonstrate is what I use for scheduling my videos. If you're building custom apps for an appointment, so if you've got a small business that needs a custom app that monitor their appointments, you can do that. So if you're building custom apps for event organizers, they want to schedule the program, whatever, there are loads of uses for custom calendars within apps when what we get natively within Flutterflow is not necessarily the right tool for the job. So I've built this custom calendar and I'm going to run you through it and show you how it works. If you want to get the template, you can go to rapidmvp.co and get it from there. The link will be on the screen somewhere now. So this particular version of the app is built up to schedule videos, but obviously it's a template. You can change it to whatever you want and you can incorporate it into a larger app, or something like appointments or events or whatever. So this is just sort of demonstrating my use case for it, but obviously there are many use cases that you can build it out for. Let's dive into it and have a look. So when you open the app, it will open on your current month, and here we are on the 31st of March is today, so it opens on March for the calendar view. Now this is built mostly with Flutterflow inbuilt functionality. There is a little bit of custom code and a couple of custom widgets, but mostly I try to use as much inbuilt stuff as I could. So basically, to navigate through the calendar, you tap the arrows to go up a month, and indeed to go back down the months again. Or if you want to select a specific month, you can use the month pickup. At the bottom, that is a custom component. In this instance, we are showing the video scheduling for each day, and it shows that when we've got video schedule, we get the red circle obviously on the date, and we get a little dot to say we've got something there. So I'm going to sort of add a item in a minute. So we'll stick with April. So let's go into April the 27th, and then it takes us to the detailed view. Now a section at the top, this is standard Flutterflow calendar widget, which we can then scroll through the weeks and then like pick a Sunday for 11th, for instance. Currently of May is iOS push notifications. Whether that changes or not, I do not know, but that's currently what's there. And then we can go back, where were we, to the 27th of April. We have got items that we haven't yet scheduled. So for instance, if we want to schedule another video for the 27th of April, all we need to do is just swipe that up, and that will sit in there, and all we do is then tap on a item, and that allows us to go in and edit it. And you can see in this instance whether it's a video, a short, or a post, what the title is, the description. So this particular version also includes access to images, so you can assign an image to, because obviously I'm using it for post. Go to gallery, and I don't have one for this, so let's just put that there. And then whether it's recorded or edited in my instance, then this is where you go if you want to change the time, etc. So that's what happens when you're editing an item. And then if we go back to calendar view, back to April, and then you can now see we've got two items for April the 27th. And if we want to remove one, just long press it and it disappears back down to the bottom. And at the bottom, you just scroll along. What happens is it's currently a row, but when you have a third element, it will turn into a carousel when you've got three or more. And then along here, we've just got a list of all the posts you've got. That's just a long list of posts. And again, you can just go into those to amend them. And then on the settings page, you've got the usual stuff, but we've actually got this set up to save to Supabase and our users table, a column which is just a JSON column. And if we just save to cloud, we'll just overwrite our last cloud save. And then what is our most recent calendar will be saved to Supabase. And again, we can import from the cloud the same way, and that's because everything is being done locally on the device. We're not going to and from Supabase all the time. Everything's stored locally in device, and we are accessing it there and putting it in there. So that is obviously our backup. That is basically it. Let's go over to Flutterflow and have a look, see how it works. Okay, so I'm going to give you a tour of the template. I'm not going to go through it stage by stage because there's far too much to it. Too complicated, and the video will be too long. It'll be sort of 2 hour video to go through every single step of what I've done. So I'll give you a tour of the template, show you how it works, so you can then make a decision if you want to get the template, or you can then use this information to build it out yourself. So basically, page loads on the calendar page, and we've got a couple of data grids, and we're doing that because we are conditionally showing which data grid we want depending on the user's action. So if the page just loads, we are showing one data grid based on the fact that we are choosing to display the current month and year. And then as soon as a user performs an action, i.e. goes up and down a month via the controls or selects a month with the custom widget date picker, we display the other data grid conditionally. That is because of the way we are going to get the information and using the custom actions to do so. We're updating the app states within the custom actions, so it was just easier for me to do it this way than trying to do it two sets of information with one data grid basically. So it was just easier to do it that way. So we're doing that. There's actually two data grids, although it's seamless, you can't see them. So obviously on this page we are displaying the days and dates using the children in the grid view, and that is done via custom action. And the custom action is get day date data. So this is the code for that. We just turn it a JSON that's got a list of month and day for any given year, depending on what your user chooses. So obviously if they just go up a month or down a month, that's what it returns. If they choose a different year, that's what it does. So this essentially is the custom action for that, and we're using that every time we change the date, basically. So that's custom action there, and we use it either on page load or when we are making a selection. And then if the user wants to change the month and year, as you saw, we've got the Cupertino style date picker. That is a custom widget, and that is the month year picker, because the standard Flutterflow one displays day, month, year, and I could not figure out how to remove the day. I don't think you can, so I just decided to build another one. So essentially we can go from 2000 to 2100, as you can see. So that's the custom widget that we're using for the Cupertino style date picker. That's when you tap on the date, get a bottom sheet, and then you get the widget in it basically. So that is there. That's on a custom component. So that's really the date. The other thing on the date page, we have got the little dots. They're actually containers. Each of the little dots is actually a container, just rounded off, basically small and rounded off. And what we've got, we are creating a dynamic children on the row. And in this instance, for now, the max items you can have is 4 per day. I'm going to do an update at some point and increase that. But at the moment, you can have 4 per day. So obviously, you've got your days and dates, as we've seen, with the containers with a little red dot for if there's anything scheduled for that particular day. And then if you tap on any given container, you've got the actions, and essentially that navigates you to the scheduling page, which is this one. So what will happen is whatever month and year you've come from, it will show up in the top here, and then you tap on that to go back to the same month and year. Or if you want to go back to scratch, i.e. the current month and year, just click on calendar rather than the back arrow basically. So there's two different ways to navigate back to the calendar. One takes you back to where you come from, and one takes you back to the current month and year. This is the standard Flutterflow calendar widget, just where you can scroll across week at a time, then tap on the days, and then the container with the list view populates based on if there are any items scheduled for that day. And then essentially what we've got is our dynamic children are created if there's an item in the list that is scheduled for that day, essentially is what we've got there. So that's what we've got. And then at the bottom here, we have got a row, and also we have got, as I said at the time, a carousel. So anything that's not scheduled on the calendar, you can just drag them up. You've got draggables, and they go into the drag target. And then on the bottom there, if you've got 3 or more items in your unscheduled information, you will get a carousel because it looks neater and it's easier to swipe around. So if there's 0 items in your to schedule pile, basically, you will get the empty list component displayed. Just a little widget there to say you need to put stuff in there if you want to swipe it up. And then if there's 1 or 2, you'll get the row displayed. You can just go side to side. And then if there's 3 or more, you get the carousel, because you can go around. The reason I did that is because on the carousel, if there's less than 3 items, it repeats the same ones and it just looks a bit rubbish, basically. We've got some conditional color in here, but that's personal preference. I've set this up, and the template is set up to be this scheduling version of the app, but I've actually got a version I use are exactly the same app that I use for training plans and following a sort of an exercise training regime, using exactly the same process. So like I said earlier, you can use this for all kinds of different things. I've just chosen to demonstrate and keep the template as the one I set for my videos because that was the one I built in the first place. So decide what your use case is, and then it should be pretty easy to build out your own changes so it looks and feels for your use case, and obviously not for building and posting YouTube videos. We've got the floating action button. That is, all you do is tap on that. We've got two of those. We've got one on this page and we've got one on the all post page. So the all post page is just a simple list of all of the posts, regardless of whether they're scheduled or not. So you can just scroll up and down them and see what they are. And again, all you can do is tap on them to go into them and edit them. Likewise, in here, you can tap any of these to go in and edit, and also obviously tap on any of these to go in and edit them. But the floating action button, that brings up the new post component. It's all pretty straightforward. Again, choice chips, you can delete them, change them, obviously do however you want. Likewise, I've got post title, post body. Again, your use case is going to be different, but essentially the functionality is the same. You may not want to use images, but if you do, essentially this is a custom component for grabbing images, and what this does, this goes into the gallery on the device using the image picker dependency, and you can, as you saw in the demonstration, you can go and pick an image and associate it with a post, a event, or whatever it is. So there's that, and then tap it to go and grab an image, and then if you want to remove the image from that particular calendar item, you actually just long press it basically. So there's a long press and then it clears the value of the image path. So that is the local image widget. Again, you may not want to use images, but it's there if you do want to, and it goes into the device gallery and grabs what you need. That's essentially the create a post section that you get from any of the two floating action buttons. And then if you want to change the schedule date in here, you also can do, and that brings up the standard Flutterflow date picker. And then edit post is identical. It's just populated when it loads with the information from the post. That's the difference. The new post is simply a blank event and you just create one. The edit post comes up with the information for the post that you've chosen to edit, obviously. So basically, if you are in, for instance, here and you tap on it and you go to the edit post screen, it will be populated with the information from that particular post. Likewise, if you click on either of these, it will also do the same. So in terms of data, I've chosen to use an app state variable. So all the posts and all the information for the posts are stored in a list, which is a custom data type list app state variable. So we've got a custom data type with our post details. We've also got one with the date information, which we are using when we grabbing the JSON from our custom code which creates the days and dates of the week. We are using the data type to get those out, but also the post details, i.e. the event details that you are putting on your calendar, everything's stored in an app state variable with a custom data type in this particular instance. And then what happens is, as I demonstrated, if you go to the settings page, you can just got the save to cloud button and the import from cloud button and clear post. So clear post data basically empties the app state variable, clears everything down. Save to cloud overwrites your previous save to Superbase, and import from cloud does exactly the same. And then the other stuff is all your standard user management stuff. And then notifications, so everything you need to set up push notifications is included. It's all ready to go. You've just got to go into OneSignal and set that up, and obviously your Google Cloud Messaging, you've got to set that up and initiate everything. Again, I've done a video on it, which will be linked in the documentation. Whether you choose to get the template or not, you can obviously go and look at the documentation and get all the relevant bits of information you need. But the custom actions are all there, everything you need for notifications with OneSignal, using the OneSignal SDK. Everything's included in the template, but I'm not going to go through that now because it's not actually initialized. Obviously, it's something you need to do yourself. So there is a video on it if you need to look at that. So basically that, in a nutshell, is how it works. It's really got sort of two main pages, to be honest. You've got the calendar page, which is where we get our day and date information, and we can see if we've got anything scheduled. And then we've got our scheduling page where we drag and drop all our different calendar items into our relevant days. Or we can just create a new post and assign it a day when we create it. You don't have to not assign a day because there might not be anything in the bottom row here. So really, that's the nutshell of it. It is seemingly simple, but there's actually quite a lot to it to make it work. I mean, there are quite a lot of conditional actions. There's quite a lot of thought that has to go into how the navigation works to make sure you're displaying the right month and year and you're going to the right month and year. The sort of mechanism, and it took a lot of thinking about to get it all to function, all to work. It's not overly complicated, but there's a lot to it. So if you do want to go out and build one of these rather than get the template, I'm happy to answer any questions you have just place them in the comments and I will answer as many as I can. But failing that, you can go and get the template and you can literally use all this into a larger app, into an app doing other things as well, and include custom calendar as part of it. But custom calendars, as I said, you've got tons of uses for them, really have. And this one is built mostly with Flutterflow standard widgets, although we do have a number of custom actions, as you can see, some of which, to be fair, are purely for the saving to the cloud and for the push notifications. And then we haven't got that many really which are to do with the days and dates. And then, for instance, the display month year one, what we're doing, the display month year, it's just a good example actually of some of the complexities to make it look right, is text. It's just a text item, and our month and years are actually integers, so month 1 to 12, and integer obviously depending on the year. So we've got to turn that into a text object to display it correctly, and that is done by custom action, and that's how we do it there. So like I say, it's not massively complicated, but there is quite a lot to it. And then we've got the two custom widgets, which is getting the image and the month year pickers. And then all this other stuff, they're not actually widgets at all. This is just where I put all the code you need for stuff like user tables and email status. So basically, whether your user's email has been confirmed or not, that's all included. All the standard Superbase auth stuff's all included anyway. So ensuring your user validates their email and that kind of thing. So that's the custom calendar template. So it's a quick tour of it. There is too much of it to go over it step by step, but it's a really handy tool. I've used it on a couple of apps now, and you're more than welcome to go and check out the template. And if you want to have a go at building it yourself, I'm more than happy to answer your questions. So hopefully that is sort of displayed some of the thoughts behind it and how I've built it, and then you can sort of maybe apply some of that logic to your own. So if that was useful, please consider like and subscribe as always, and I will speak to you in the next video.